We both work for ourselves. What is it that you really enjoy about working for yourself?
There are lots of aspects. Primarily the challenges, the responsibility, although I would add that certain people have said that I am unemployable, that's why I do that. I'm not sure there's any truth in that or not.
It's been said to me as well, it's not just you.
I think in running your own business, you have a sense of freedom. I wasn't ever particularly academic at school, didn't enjoy school, and I was very fortunate to enter a business environment in the city at a young age, literally in the post room of a broking business, and I progressed. I clearly wasn't stupid, although I didn't like following rules, and the partners in that business showed me some support and guidance, and I've been successful, and I'm very, very fortunate to have achieved what I've achieved. We're not a huge business. We're a relatively small business, 15 people, but we've got quite a big footprint, and we punch way above our weight. I think being in business teaches you a sense of responsibility to yourself, first and foremost, to your staff, to your customers, and to what you're trying to achieve. And it's not easy, but it can be incredibly rewarding. I'm truly blessed. I think I've joked about this before. My wife thinks I'm bonkers because I want to get up in the mornings and get a 6:30 train to go into the office. Now that we're allowed to, I should say. So there are great things about being your own business. Your own boss is one thing, but setting your own agenda, setting your own direction, knowing what you want to achieve, and working towards it. There is you do need a degree of self-motivation, and from what I've heard in the room today, all these wonderful people, that's not lacking by any sense of the imagination, and that's easy to put into place and try to channel.
And so we're selling the concept of working for ourselves, and I think one of the other things, if some days you're feeling good and some days you're not feeling so good, when you work for yourself, you've got a flexibility, haven't you?
Allegedly. The flexibility is that you've got to do it, or you've got to have a plan B. So even when you wake up and you look outside and it's raining, you don't want to go to work and it's kicked off and your car doesn't start, you've got to put in place a plan B, and you've got to have things around you. If you're running your business yourself, you've got to step up. If you've built a business to a point whereby it's part of a bigger entity, you've got people around you that you've employed, and they're your resource, and they become your plan B. So that's important to plan, yes.
Yeah. And so, if somebody here, looking around the audience, is thinking about setting up their own business, do they need a plan?
Without a shadow of a doubt, yes, you have to have a plan. It's essential. But people, a plan is not necessarily a business plan. You don't have to go to somebody with a presentation, bullet points, and a beginning, middle, and end, and your exit strategy. You have to have a plan as to what it is that the business plan will look like. And that plan might be as simple as just speaking to people, having an idea of what it is that you want to do, having some checks and balances whereby there's no point trying to create a business that's going to reinvent the wheel. We've had it for a couple of million years. We don't need another wheel. So some businesses can be very, very innovative. Some businesses just do things better than old established businesses. We spoke earlier about, somebody mentioned earlier about the ability for taking advantage of your own circumstances. A lot has been said about remote working, hybrid working. So your skill set in a market, in a business place with other people may not be apparent, but it may be far more apparent utilizing your skill set in another environment, working from home, or contributing as a consultant to a business, as part of another contributor to a business that's already established. That in itself can be scalable.
And what are the problems? If you think about, we're developing a plan, we've decided what we're going to do, we're not going to sell wheels, we've decided that. But what are the obstacles that people might face in actually enacting that plan?
I refer to this as my Rumsfeld moment, so that the famous speech, I'm not going to quote it exactly, there are things that we know, the things that we don't know, the things that we don't know that we don't know. I would always say focus on the things that you don't know first, because that's where the real value is. So ask. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, whether it's on the internet, whether it's friends, whether it's families, whether it's a similar business. Knowledge is key, and use that to your advantage. Ask people in business, run ideas past them. Don't be deterred. It's very easy to be deterred. As I said earlier, I fell into business because of circumstances, but I don't think I would still be employed now. I'd have developed into a businessman or into my own business. Be positive. There is nothing that you can't achieve. Life has told us this just by looking at circumstances and what's going on with the environment that you're already in. Be positive. There are people out there that want you, not using the pun, to be successful and to be a success. Take advantage of those resources, I think. And the Prince's Trust is a great one. We've just heard about that.
Absolutely. And I mean, you might want to make a comment on this as well. But one of the next questions is, we need some money. We have this great plan not to sell wheels. We've worked out the things that we don't know. We've talked to people. We've talked to other people in business. We're starting to amass an idea. But even with hybrid working, you need a laptop, you need Zoom. Where do you get the money from to start that up if you don't have it in the first place?
There are lots of places to consider. First and foremost, I won't refer to it as the bank of mum and dad, but friends and family. Friends and family are always great. If you've sought guidance from them already, they'll have some idea of what you're trying to do. There are things called business angels. There are vast networks of business angels that you can approach who have swathes of money. As you progress, I work in capital markets in the city. There are ways in which to raise money. There's an old saying in the city: it's easier to raise £10 million than it is to raise £1 million, because you just got to capture people's imagination. There are various tax breaks available for people that start businesses, whether it's EIS, which is an investment enterprise scheme, whether it's VCT funding from various specialist lenders, whether it's grant funding from various institutions. Your local bank may have a facility whereby they're running programs to encourage entrepreneurs. Banks have changed a lot in the last couple of decades since the crisis of 2008. They've forgotten that they're actually supposed to lend money, but sometimes you can find them, and they do lend money. But there are opportunities out there. Business Angels is a great one, particularly with small businesses. And just be confident. If you've got a plan, somebody will see that a plan is viable. Somebody will see that a plan has legs. And somebody will see that you're worth supporting. And from that comes capital investment. And then as you get bigger and more successful and you want to grow, should that be your aspiration, then you start to consider things like capital markets. And before it's global domination and your next Bill Gates.
So, global domination, we've got that. We're aware that, many survivors that I've been speaking to have been talking about very small businesses, maybe starting up an Etsy shop that's selling cards that are grafted and other sorts of things. And so we want to launch the idea today of a Success Dragon's Den. And we've assembled a small group of people that are willing to give money to help people, to help survivors to set up their own business. And so if you want to know more about that information will be coming up soon, probably within the next 2 weeks on our website, and it will also be on our social media channels. And we would love people to come to us with a very simple plan. This is what we're wanting to do. This is what we want to achieve. This is what we need. We need £50 for materials, £100 for materials. And we really are looking forward to working with people to help dreams come true as far as that's concerned. And that will be on the Success website. And it will be on the Success Twitter feed and on the Success Facebook page. And I have no doubt if you're signed up for the Success emails that come through, it will be on that as well, and I've got no doubt at all that Elaine will also be phoning.
Can I just add, I've got it on very good authority that the success draggers will be far less ruthless than the ones on the TV. We've got a different agenda, I believe.
So we're friendly dragons. Great. Well, thank you, Gino, for sharing that. That's been absolutely great. Patrick, if I can now come to you, because self-employment isn't for everybody. Some people want to actually gain a job. And what advice would you give to our survivor community about actually securing a job?
Yeah, well, from listening to people's stories this morning, I think it's a very individual journey everybody goes on. And it's about setting yourself the goal for you and then how you're going to get there. A little bit like what the Princess Trust does, it's about researching and looking at employers that are right for you. That could be a one-man band, or it could be a bigger employer who have the knowledge of working and supporting people with disabilities. Obviously, there's the volunteering to try and get your foot into the environment and the type of work you want to do without the pressures of paid employment. Networking as well, getting involved in the type of work that you want to do and into the industry. That could be working with cars. It could be washing cars, although you want to become a mechanic. I have supported somebody who started washing cars in a garage and then progressed through the years to become a mechanic. So sometimes it's setting yourself small goals that get yourself to achieve the bigger picture.
And some of the chats that I've had with some of the survivors that are here today and previously, we've been talking about, at what point do I tell an employer about my disability, about my survival journey? At what point do I share that information? And will it frighten an employer off, or will it inspire them?
I think, well, we would hope it would inspire them. I think it's a very personal thing from the journey that you've been on. If you feel that the job you're doing, you may need some support, or there may be things down the line that you would need to bring to light, that may be getting through your induction or some of your training, etc., then I think it's being proud of the journey that you've been on and to be proud of where you are and asking for help and support. But from a legal standpoint, you don't have to declare your disability. And if you feel that the job you're wanting to do, your disability and your journey as a survivor wouldn't have an effect on that, then actually that's a personal decision.
So it's a personal decision. Share your story if you're proud of your story, but you're not legally required to share your story.
Yeah.
And if you have got a disability, what does the law say with regard to employers and their legal responsibilities?
Does the employer? The employer has a legal responsibility to support you with your disability, access to work, which the Princess Trust mentioned. The employer can provide a whole range of different support systems. It can be reasonable adjustments to equipment. My sister lives in an assisted bungalow and she's in a wheelchair, and her local authority, raised the counters in the library so that she could work in the library for about 10 years before she started her own family. So there's reasonable adjustments for physical disabilities. There's things such as providing support for PAs to get through writing when your inductions. We've gone and done food hygiene, supported people through food hygiene certificates, or just through the probation period where you may need a little bit of extra support to get through your induction, but that doesn't actually affect you doing the job.
And then finally, because we're aware, we're the only people standing between you and lunch. So this is a great, great responsibility that we feel that we have. So our final question, again, talking to an awful lot of the survivor community, they share their story that they've maybe been in hospital for 6 months, maybe up to 2 years. that creates gaps, in particular if your treatment was later in life. That creates gaps in CVs and things like that. How do you cope with that?
Well, I must have created 1 million CVs over the years for people. What I would say is everybody has gaps. Everybody has gaps in their employment for a variety of reasons, so that's nothing unique to a survivor who may have had gaps due to their treatment. There is something called a skills-based CV, which is something that's more popular nowadays, rather than have a CV where you chronically list your school and then your jobs in the years to and from. A skill-based CV is something where you list your skills and you reflect those to the type of work that you're looking for. So you would have a personal statement, you would have a list of your skills, and then you can bring your work experience into the skills, but also your survivor experience as well. So the journey that you go on in life, often you gain skills that you can take into the workplace, and the skills-based CV helps you to encapsulate all of that. So it may be some of your work experience, it may be some of your journey.